Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regularly scheduled February meeting of the RTM Education Sub-Committee. Today is February 5th, 2024, and I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:06. For our meeting today, Representative Lafredo will be the clerk. Representative Lafredo, could you take roll call?
All right, start off. Representative Brooks.
Yeah.
Representative Greenberg, not present. Representative Blake, not present. Representative Fredo, here. Representative Maresca, here. And then Representative Summerall.
Sumu.
Yes. All right, that's all.
We have a quorum, and tonight's meeting, I'd just like to begin by reminding everybody that this subcommittee has a purview of 5 areas: education, as well as adult learning, as well as early childhood learning, as well as the Willoughby Wallace Library, as well as the Blackstone Library. We invited Director McNichols tonight to do a presentation on the status and state of the Blackstone Library. Director McNichols is finishing her 2nd year. I understand it was a national search, and we are very blessed to have you as leader of our town jewel.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us here tonight. Thank you, Chairman Keefe, for inviting us here to make this presentation. As you said, I'm Katie McNichol, Director of the Blackstone Library. With me tonight is Janice Kochanowski, Treasurer of the Board of Trustees, Chair of the Finance Committee. Pat Sanders is the President of the Board of Trustees, and Michelle Blank is the Vice President of the Board of Trustees. So they're here for some support tonight. I have a packet that you all have. The top is a sheet of recent highlights, but I'd like to start by going through the next document, this bigger one, which is my presentation. I gave you the full text of the presentation there because it is a lot, and this way you have something substantial to take away with you. So if you'll indulge me, I will get started, and thank you for your time. We at the Blackstone Library are committed to maintaining open lines of communication with the town of Branford. We are all committed to ensuring those lines of communication stay strong. We are mindful of the RTM's responsibilities, and we share them too. We want to provide the best possible library services to our community in a fiscally responsible manner. So we thank you for your service to the town of Branford and welcome you as a partner in our work to ensure that the library continues to carry out its mission, which is to inspire and enrich curious minds, welcome and connect our community, and help our community learn, succeed, and thrive by providing essential access to information, resources, and unique shared experiences. The Blackstone Library building itself is an iconic and awe-inspiring building. It opened in 1896 with a collection of over 5,000 books, which were donated by Timothy Blackstone. Timothy, who was then president of Chicago and Alton Railroad, agreed to fund the entire construction cost of the library, which was $300,000, as long as it was named for his father, James. A portrait of James hangs in the reading room above the fireplace, and Timothy's portrait hangs in the Lucy Hammer room. Both portraits were painted by J. Colin Forbes and have hung in the library since opening day. Timothy Blackstone also provided an endowment of $300,000, which was donated in the form of railroad stocks. Income from that endowment covered 100% of the library's expenses until the 1960s. Today, the Blackstone receives approximately 89% of its annual operating fund from the town of Branford. The other 11% is made up of fundraising events, 2 annual appeals, grants, and income from the library's investment account. The library is an independent 501c3 nonprofit organization. It is recognized as the town's principal public library, and we serve approximately 10,000 registered patrons each year. Last year, people visited the Blackstone 111,000 plus times and borrowed almost 200,000 items. Our free Wi-Fi supported over 44,000 sessions, and its public computers were used over 8,000 times. Our adult, teen, and children's programs were attended by 15,700 plus people. So Connecticut is unique in that each municipality has its own library, unlike many other states which have regional systems. In Connecticut, there are 169 towns and 191 libraries. Half of those are municipal departments of town government, and the other half are association libraries like the Blackstone. Blackstone Library Board is a governing board rather than advisory, and this means trustees have legal responsibility for the governance of the library, including its finances, the building, and operating policies. The board is self-perpetuating, which means the board appoints its own new members, and it's governed by its bylaws. Trustees serve a 3-year term, and they're eligible to serve 2 successive terms for a total of 6 years. The terms are staggered to ensure stability of the board in terms of experience and skills. And the following page of the packet shows a list of the current members and their terms. We also have 2 ex officio positions on the board. One is reserved for a representative of the RTM, currently filled by Chairman Heath, and one is reserved for a representative of the Town of Branford's Board of Finance, currently filled by Jeff Follett. Both positions are non-voting per bylaws. So members of our Board of Trustees make a commitment to be familiar with those bylaws and ensure adequate support for the library in the community by encouraging town administration and voters to support the library. The board ensures that the library is relevant to its community, complies with relevant laws and regulations, adopts service-oriented policies, and conducts strategic planning at regular intervals. The board is responsible for hiring and evaluating the library director. The library director is responsible for day-to-day operation of the library, hiring and evaluating staff, and recommending and carrying out policies adopted by the board. The library is also supported by a very successful all-volunteer friends group. Their main fundraiser is the annual book sale on Branford Green, a huge community event. Last year it raised over $72,000 before expenses. The proceeds from this event are provided to the library in the form of a grant that are restricted for specific uses determined by the Friends. In past years, funds from the Friends have been used to purchase 3D printers and other equipment. They support online access to our events calendar, language learning applications, and digital collections at Hoopla and Canopy. They've contributed funds that support furniture and book displays in the library, and they were a significant donor to our recent renovation. Their efforts enhance and enrich the resources offered to Branford. The picture of the document at the top of this page, the working together, that is from the Manual for Trustees, published by the Association of Connecticut Library Boards, and describes the breakdown of roles and responsibilities between library director, trustees, and friends. So the next page is about the budget. The box at the top of that page gives an overview of income sources and expenses for the Blackstone Library. So managing a $1.9 million budget is a year-round endeavor. The budget cycle begins in earnest in December of each year, when we have the first 6 months of the current year's expenditures and the audited previous year's budget to actual comparison. We look at any anticipated cost variances in contracts, materials, and supplies to formulate the upcoming budget. The Blackstone's budget, unlike regular town departments, is the organization's total budget, including health insurance, pension, FICA, utilities, building and grounds maintenance, and more. The library is continually monitoring and evaluating our contracts and other pricing. The budget is developed and tracked by the board treasurer, the library business manager, and the director. The board's finance committee reviews the budget prior to recommending its approval to the board of trustees. And as the governing and fiscal authority for the library, the board gives its final approval to the proposed budget prior to submission to the town. So that is all some library history and basic operations information, which lays the foundation for what we do every day. We impact the community by supporting 3 simple ideas. We engage the community, we help them expand their minds, and we enrich their lives. In the fall of '22, the Blackstone Library finalized its new strategic plan for the coming years. The plan contains 8 strategic initiatives that emerged from community outreach, which involved 16 different focus group sessions with the community, plus multiple surveys to reach different populations, and interviews with staff and other community stakeholders. Those initiatives are to inspire love of learning, innovative thinking, and creativity, to provide access to expert minds, to promote personal empowerment, to support economic well-being, facilitate community connections around shared interests, be a community information hub, advance volunteerism, and celebrate diversity and understanding of one another. Since then, Blackstone has worked to support these initiatives in numerous and varied ways, from encouraging staff to pursue professional development, improving the quality and diversity of program offerings, expanding our library of things, strengthening community partnerships, and improving communications and outreach. We've worked to get back into the schools, posting library card signups for students and talking to classes about everything we offer. We've partnered with the American Jobs Center to offer jobs training information events, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Heritage Foundation to offer a series of Black History Month lectures happening this month. The Shoreline Chamber of Commerce, we partnered with to host a legislative listening session and to attend their wellness fair at the YMCA. And we've hosted a couple of community volunteer fair days with almost 20 different local organizations participating and hundreds of community members coming out to learn how they can get involved and give back. Our children's, teen, and adult programming is immensely popular and addresses many of the initiatives that were outlined in the strategic plan. They serve to connect the community to each other and to provide lifelong learning, from teaching early literacy concepts in one of our 5 weekly story times, to offering expert lectures in the arts and sciences. They serve to inspire and enrich our community with musical and dramatic performances for all ages. Our staff also facilitate a number of book clubs, trivia nights, tech support programs on and off-site, and more. The costs of many of these programs are sponsored by the Friends of the Library. Some are made possible by grants and special gifts, and others made possible by partnerships with local organizations. We send out events notices to over 7,500 people in the community by email, out to local news outlets, and in posts on social media. In addition to programs and events, Blackstone Library offers a physical and digital collection of books, movies, music, and other non-traditional items, plus access to many digital resources. The library still has a robust circulation of books, DVDs, books on CD, and music CDs, plus we offer access to downloadable and streaming ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, movies, comics, and music through Libby, Hoopla, Canopy, and Palace. We provide access to online and digital resources for language learning, research articles, job skills and career search assistance, standardized test prep, creative arts classes, and tech help. Some of the costs of these items and resources are sponsored by the Friends of the Library, including special collections like their Quick Pick books, which are high-demand bestsellers that have a shorter loan time and no holds allowed, or our bestseller book club kits, offering 10 copies of bestseller title in a bag, complete with questions to ask. We also belong to the Libraries Online, or LION, consortium, which helps share in the cost of access to materials. We share collections with over 35 libraries in the area, including Stony Creek, Guilford, Madison, Hamden, Wallingford, West Haven, and we share an automated system that allows us to combine an online catalog of all LION library holdings. A delivery service arrives several times a week to drop off and pick up shared items, and LION provides Blackstone with all of our tech support. When the library first opened in 1896, it was also a place for more than books, with the auditorium designed specifically for cultural programs. The library also was originally a meeting place and opened in the evenings so people could enjoy its heated spaces. There was even initially a plan to install a gymnasium on the ground floor, but that never came to be. The library is a place that continually evolves in response to its ever-changing community. And legacy endures. In the summer of 2022, the library celebrated 125 years of serving the Branford community with a day of storytelling, speeches, a time capsule ceiling, and music attended by hundreds in the community. Since 1896, the Blackstone has been promoting and preserving free and open access to information, unique experiences, and lifelong learning for all in a building that is an architectural jewel in town. Since we began implementing the strategic plan, using feedback gathered directly from the community, we've seen a terrific response from the community, with people raving about our programs, our communications. Foot traffic in the building is up 31% over the prior year, continuing a trend of increasing library usage, building back up to pre-COVID levels. Our focus for the future is to continue developing programming that helps connect people to experts, inspires creativity, and supports volunteerism. We want to continue to ensure support for staff development and training to ensure excellence in customer service and library services. We're looking at building projects for upgrades and maintenance, repairing our utility building roof, enclosing the balcony of the auditorium, conducting HVAC and stonework repairs. We want to continue to strengthen our partnerships and increase partnerships with local organizations and schools. I'm looking at ways to support the Connecticut Library Association Legislative Committee in their efforts to enact legislation to change ebook licensing laws to help regulate the out-of-control ebook costs to libraries. We want to continue to improve our communications with better email services and a more user-friendly website, and really just continue to offer an open and accessible space, being open 63 hours a week, 9 months of the year, 60 hours a week in the summer, and offer a robust 24/7 online branch. So that is where we're at right now. There's a lot that we're doing, and there's a lot that we have to look forward to. I'd like to invite each of you to come out to a behind-the-scenes tour at the library. I offer them the second Saturday of each month. The next one is coming up this Saturday at 10 a.m. We walk around the library, and I go through the history and the current offerings and give you a little peek really behind the scenes. It might sound dry, but everyone who comes walks away feeling that much more connected and knowledgeable about the Blackstone. And then Sunday the 11th, Colin Kaplan will be at the library to talk about pizza in New Haven, how it became what it is today. He's written 6 books, most recently about pizza in New Haven. He produced a documentary, Pizza, A Love Story, and I'm told there will be Branford pizza samples that will be given out. So everyone is invited to attend this free program that's open to all. That's my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Director. Before we get into the questions, I had the pleasure of meeting you at the library and talking about some of your experiences over the last year and a half as director and your time before then. I just want to start by asking you what the highlights of your tenure as director. Then what are your glows?
Yeah, well, I included in this packet a page of some recent accomplishments and some highlights. Some big things that have been happening at the library. We just did the big renovation, which I was not on the leadership team for that, but I was there and I heard all of the banging of the construction. So we're really pleased with how it came out, and the brand new entry is just, it's beautiful and a game changer for when people come in. I was part of the strategic plan team, so we completed that strategic plan, we've begun implementing that. We have this beautiful new mural in the children's space, which is whimsical, welcoming, and inviting to all. We've recently established the Poet Laureate position in collaboration with the town. Dr. Judith Liebman is a force of nature, and she's got programming for the next 6 months planned around town. And to me, the neatest part about that position is the collaboration that's resulted from it. We worked with the town to establish it. The selection committee was made up of various members of town organizations, BACA, the schools, the other library. We just had the reception, and First Selectman Jamie Cosgrove came out, State Representative Robin Comey came out. BCT was there to film. Branford High School culinary arts team catered the cookies, paid for by Parks and Rec. It's just represented this really great facilitation of collaborative events. One thing that came out of the strategic plan I mentioned was this initiative to advance volunteerism. People were really interested in finding out how they can connect with their community and give back to it. So we've begun introducing these community volunteer fairs, which the organizations who come out are so excited to be able to see other organizations in town. There hasn't been this opportunity for nonprofits to connect with each other. So they come out, they connect. People from the community come out and learn about these organizations, and it's such a win for everybody. And then this Library of Things, I think it's really cool. We started off in 2015 with a gift from the Friends and established a maker lab with 3D printers, a sewing machine, some electronics equipment. We got grants after that to expand that, but it was all things you had to come into the library to use. And that was great, we had programming around that. But the trend in libraries has been to allow people to borrow things and take them home and really expand what you can access, how you can learn, and how you can enhance your kind of social connections in your own home. And so we see the Library of Things as a way to do that. And so with gifts from friends, donations from individuals, donations from the Branford Environmental Commission, we've been able to create different kits and offer this equipment that people can borrow for a couple of weeks and take it home and play games with their friends or learn electric guitar, go bird watching, use the telescope. It facilitates so many areas of learning and social connection, and I'm really proud that we're able to offer that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to turn it over to Representative Moraska.
I was just curious, with the recent renovation, why do you want to close in the patio?
It's not the patio, it's inside the auditorium.
Oh, inside.
Yeah, so in the auditorium, there is a balcony
Yep.
inside.
Mm-hmm.
And this was an alternate project in that original renovation. When it came to the end of the renovation, there weren't enough funds to complete that part of the project. So it's been kind of sitting there. What we'd like to do is, we've actually applied for another construction grant from the state of Connecticut to enclose that for 50% of the project cost. And then we would be able to fund the rest through private donations. There's a little bit left in the original renovation fund from the town that we can combine. And the reason that we want to combine it, not just because it was part of this original project, but when we conducted the strategic plan, one thing that came out of it was this continued need for small meeting space, flexible meeting space. And so the original intent was to enclose the balcony and create one fairly medium-sized meeting room. And there'd be a window wall so you wouldn't lose the beauty of the room, but it would be a much more functional space. Because really since COVID, we're seeing our small meeting space is in use almost every single day, almost all day long. But it's mostly singles, double, like it's very small groups of people who come in. People come in to do telehealth. They come in to do Zoom interviews. They study for school. It's a wide range of uses. But we thought we could be so much more useful by taking this idea of enclosing the balcony into a single meeting room and actually breaking it into two. So we're looking at, for a slightly higher cost of construction, actually creating two smaller meeting spaces. They would each fit 6 to 8 people, rather than some like really long, narrow room that could maybe fit 20. We have 2 other meeting rooms that can fit 12 to 20 people.
Right.
We really want to support those smaller uses.
And I also have one other question. When you have, like if people have a wedding or something there, where does that money go? Does that go to the library, of course?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have like an events person that plans all that, or?
We don't. I mean, we have a page on our website that highlights how people can reserve the library for these private events. It is a beautiful space. It's a gorgeous space to have a wedding. It is a tricky space to have a wedding. We don't have a full service kitchen.
No.
So we have a kitchenette. So anybody who
Or some
comes
people
in,
come and have pictures taken.
yes, they have lots and lots of pictures taken. And I mean, we do have our weddings. We don't currently have anything booked, but we had a wedding back in October, and it was lovely. But it's kind of incumbent upon the person who's booking it to find the caterer, do the decor. You know, we offer some of the basics. We have some tables, we have some chairs. But it can be a tricky space, and it's kind of like, it has to be the right number of people.
Right.
So it's, you know, we get a lot of calls. I give a lot of tours to people who are interested in the space. And
Because it seems like a lot of people aren't aware of the fact that you can go and have pictures taken.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, people have lived in this town their whole lives are surprised.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
and
years ago when Branford had their 350th,
Mhm.
that's where the gala was.
yeah, it's really a nice space. And I will say, in the last 2 years, I mean, our world was rocked in 2020, you know, and like we had all these different uses of the building pre-COVID, and kind of everything changed, and people were learning how people are using the building differently, and people are going about their lives maybe in different ways. I don't know if that's affected how people choose to have weddings, but in the last 2 years, our fundraising events, the mini golf that we've had, and last year's Evening of the Spirits were hugely successful, hugely popular. And I think getting people into the building that way, and that lets them see the space in a different way, those are opportunities where we can kind of broaden our reach and maybe make people think about the library in a different way. I will say the other thing about having these private rentals, to do a wedding, people want to bring in their own tables often. And if you think about the library, we have to clear out all of the furniture that's there
It's a big undertaking.
and then put it all back. We pay staff to be there, to take out the garbage, to move the furniture, make sure nothing, anything breaks, you can fix it. So there is cost involved in having it be a rental facility. And just the wear and tear on the furniture is, it's a lot of furniture to tuck out of the way and then put back. So to me, I think focusing on the fundraising events where we can get more bang for our buck, I think that's a better return on our investment of time.
If you had any doubt about the professionalism of the RTM, Representative Brooks went over to the library tonight to do research on shared space and small space. So we're all over it.
All right.
Representative, do you have any questions? Representative? I was curious, I asked what your goals were. What keeps you up at night?
Yeah, I think the climate change is the rains that we've been having all summer and its effect on our 127-year-old building. We had a crack in the cornice that our custodian noticed, and we called out a mason to come over. And so he said, we can either leave it, see what happens, or they can actually get up and take a piece off and wait until the spring. We had him come up, take it off, and he said he basically had to touch it, and this piece of stone just fell off. And it was, however high the top of the roof is, if that had fallen, it would have splintered. Maybe someone was standing underneath it. But it's these little cracks that all of this rain exacerbates. And in this old building, any repair costs X amount of times more than a current house. It's really hard getting people out. So all of these maintenance things are kind of on my mind, and I'm hoping that nothing major happens on my watch. But that's, we're keeping an eye out for cracks and things like that, and really trying to stay on top of maintenance, because it is such a special building, and we don't want it to fall into disrepair.
Representative LaFave.
I have no questions.
I actually, no, I have a question.
Representative Brooks.
I've had this discussion in the past, and I think with you. So the library doesn't fall under what was once the government, the GGB, is that correct? Is that what it was called? The Government Building Group People's Situation? All of the maintenance that you guys do is your responsibility. You don't go to Public Works, you don't go outside you don't consult the town hall on whom to bring in and how to bid such things.
When we're looking at some new project or somebody that we don't, we have the landscapers, we have a contract with them, but we were looking at roofers years ago. There was some little league, and we do reach out to the town to see who they work with, who they recommend, so we can get quotes and kind of remain in alignment with the town. They don't control who we ultimately engage with,
right.
but we do try to stay in alignment and work with the town, see if we can kind of get a good deal because we're in alignment with the town, or just have vetted, qualified people that we work with.
That was my question. That's mine.
Yeah, I mean, we really try to work closely. I have a good relationship with Jim Finch, Margaret Liberta, the HR director. When I first started as director, she reached out for a meeting and made herself available for any advice or questions. I mean, the town has been really supportive in advice capacity, in sharing contacts and suggestions. So I think we have a really good, functional relationship.
I'd like to recognize the three members of the RTM who are in the public. Do any members of the RTM have any questions?
Hi, first, RTM. I want to commend you on what the Blackstone does. I'm a fan. Could you talk about how you worked with the town to determine the endowment percentage, how that was recently changed? I think there may be some new committee members here who may not be familiar with that process of how the budget and the endowment works.
Yeah, that came about. It was before I was director. I know I have a memo that I brought with me. Jim Finch worked very closely with Jamie Cosgrove, the education chair at the time, Ed Creed, Adam Spilka, who was a board member. We lost him early last year. So they worked very closely at this point in time when it was determined that, I guess historically the library had taken a withdrawal of maybe 4 or 5% in the endowment. And at this time they looked at the longevity of that policy and ran a Monte Carlo analysis with the financial advisors. And in looking at that, realized that the best way to ensure the longevity of the endowment was to reduce that withdrawal rate to 3.25% that year. And then going forward subsequent years, increase that withdrawal rate at the inflation rate of 2.25%. So every year after that, we increased that withdrawal rate by that agreed on 2.25%. It's my understanding that the Monte Carlo analysis is a widely accepted tool for kind of ensuring the longevity of endowments. So that team really worked to hash that out, work the budget based on that withdrawal rate, presented it to the education committee at the time, the board of finance, and then the full RTM, and it was voted on and approved, and so we've been following that same policy since then.
And also, in doing the Monte Carlo, it shows that the endowment should last 12 or 30 plus years. And it would also mitigate the big swings that you see in the market by adapting this new policy. And that was one of Jim's big concerns, that we wouldn't, 1 year, and if the market went down and it did affect the endowment, it would be less. So this was creating a more sustainable method.
Excuse me, could you repeat the number for the minutes, the longevity?
30. It's like 31 or 30, and it was given different rates of return.
Representative Toohill?
Well, I just want to say, I mean, it's been a great presentation tonight. I mean, this is a great presentation, that you gave us. It explains everything pretty well. So, I think I'm up to speed on things. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative?
I just want to commend you for efforts to run the library and the public access. You can be more with it, like you said, as far as access, internet, public books, reading. It's truly, I appreciate it.
I have another question.
Representative Brooks?
I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and there's probably a good chance that I don't. So I don't have any endowments, right? I don't. What I have, I earned yesterday, and that's what I have today, and that's pretty much how I live my life. But I have been involved with people that are much more fortunate than that. And so it seems to me like, I don't know what the money, the number, the dollar sign is in the endowment. I don't know what that is, and I don't want to know. I'm not asking that question.
It's in our minutes, it's public, it's
Right.
public information.
Whatever. I don't know. Even if you told me, I won't remember. But why wouldn't we want to add to the endowment? Is that even possible? Like, why not try to create it so I'm just gonna throw a number, right? And I'm sure that I could figure out the number. I could look at my budget book from last year and figure out. But let's say your endowment gave you $50,000 of your budget. I don't know the number, but I'll argue this thing. So in a financial world, that endowment, and you're getting 3%. A 3% of $1 million is 30,000 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I guess my question is, because you just said 30 years, to me that's shocking. When I first came on the education committee 20 years ago, I never thought, it never dawned on, I don't think the discussion of the endowment was going to dry up ever was had. So why, and I don't know if this is a question for you or the trustees or what, but why can't we grow the endowment back? Or is it because the endowment is from this person, James Stone James, whatever his name was. I can't say words. That's my problem. But is it because that's the endowment and now all fundraising? So you just said you raised $74,000 on the book sale. So what if the idea was? I think that's what you said.
Yeah, the
That's
friends.
friends, that's friends, that's not.
Only
the
the
library.
friends.
That is the.
Okay, I know some people in the Friends, so I know who they are. So I guess why can't we somehow create an avenue to start putting money back into the endowment so that whatever that 3.2% was when they made that decision, it can always be 3.2%, and that endowment stays at that. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, the endowment is invested. So we have investment managers who help ensure that the money, while it sits there, grows a little bit.
Right.
It's growing while it's being invested. And then we have the withdrawal. Our budget is basically a negative budget. And so we fill that hole with funds from the endowment. Anything extra that we get in fundraising ends up back in the endowment. So it does fluctuate, and so that 30 years, it's not like it's going to run out of money in 30 years. It's like it's a probability that it's going to last for 30 years.
At the current
rate,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not gonna run out of money.
And the other is that we do get gifts, and so we did get, as Katie mentioned, a person died and gave part of her estate to the library, and so the trustees said so much would go to the endowment, but we also said there were projects like the mural, and we said we commissioned to have that done in the donor's name. So we very carefully look at gifts, and some people, earmark it to go to the endowment to help sustain the library's, future longevity. But it's basically, and as Katie mentioned, the funds are earning a rate of return. So it's not like it's negative every year. We look to grow that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
But yeah, I
But
mean,
it's also
we'll take
the-
any gifts to the endowment that you want.
I got $2.
No, but I'd also just like to comment. So obviously $300,000 given to us 125 years ago.
Yeah.
We have $1 million plus or whatever it is.
$3.5
Whatever.
We have 3.9
Obviously, the endowment.
million.
So
I'm sorry, you what?
3.9 million.
So
So obviously, it's grown. It hasn't grown magically. It's grown at a strategy to how do we grow the endowment, recognizing that it also has funds that needs to be used, right? So the answer to your question is we do. We do contribute to the endowment. When gifts are coming, we contribute to the endowment with an investment strategy that hopefully allows us to grow it as well. So what you're asking is we do it. What we can't do is not take money from the endowment to offset, the additional expenses that we have. But we do have in place simultaneously a strategy to be able to grow the endowment to do two things. One, fund, our operational needs on an ongoing basis, and hopefully also grow the endowment at a rate that will outpace that. So that's why we're here today. We've done that. So
yeah.
The other is that the town doesn't fund us 100%.
Right. No. But the town. I'm the town that funds you. Me. Like the five of us. And there's two others that are not here.
And the taxpayers.
We
we're all
the
funded.
town.
We all funded.
But we make the decision. So this year we're going to fund you 89%. I'm just throwing that number out there. I don't know. But next year we could say, all right, we're going to fund you 90%. Because if 3.9%, $3.9 million, 3% of that is $117,000. If I put that $3.9 million in a savings account, I get 3%. Somewhere, you know what I'm saying.
You get 1%, you barely 1%.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Like I could buy CDs. I could buy CDs from the government that's going to pay me 3%. Whatever, you know what I'm saying. There's ways that I'm going to get 3% back on my money. So why wouldn't I want to, for 30 years, you just said 30 years. And I think this is probably a conversation that's bigger than what I'm talking about. But I'm here and I'm shocked. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for 20 years. And to hear you just say 30 years scares me. $117,000 for the next 100 years to the library. Like my father retired at 50 because he had $2 million. If he ran out of it in 30 years, that would be today. I'd be taking care of that son of a gun. I don't want that. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, why not just keep it? Why does it have to run out?
It's not that it's gonna run out.
It helps develop a investment strategy. In other words, how many stocks, how many bonds, so that continue at a continuous growth rate over those 30 years. So we don't have a dip one year and lose half of that. So the Monte Carlo is really designed to predict risk over that 30-year period so that they know how to make investments over that 30-year period. So you'd have a steady growth of return, great return.
Right, but if you let's say you whatever it is to sustain it. This is what I don't understand. If whatever it is to sustain it at whatever amount you decide, because I'm not getting involved in that, but whatever you decide is the amount of money that you need to sustain the endowment. Let's say the investments have a poor return for a year. So then the town kicks in 96% of your budget instead of 89%. Because in the long run,
Well, that's lovely. But I think there are a lot of people who need to weigh in on that
well,
strategy.
we'll get there.
That's why the methodology was changed. Instead of taking 3-year average and taking out 3.25%, which would take into account the ebbs and flows, that's why we are just taking out an increase year over year of 2.25%, which will ensure the viability of the endowment. At least 30 years, it's probably going to go on, in perpetuity.
And I
I'm
think
going to have to
that-
have a conversation with you.
Yeah,
I don't
and my
like this at all.
understanding is that this Monte Carlo analysis was run.
The simulation.
And it's, you look at, well, if you take out this much and then this much year after year, here's how it's going to get depleted. Or here, they look at different scenarios and they pick the
Right.
one that has the best chance of being stable.
Constant growth
I
rate
think-
of return.
But then in 5 years, you run it again to make sure all those numbers still make sense. So it's
So-
the thing you keep looking at.
So 30 years is we're not running out of money in 30
No,
years.
No, and I think the
Absolutely
other
not.
would be for you to read the memo that was written in conjunction with the investment advisors, which will shed
I
some
believe I
light.
did. But I don't remember hearing 30
They,
years.
they,
Well, there is-
they did a 30-year run on it. They could have done 20 years. They could
All
have
right.
done.
It's interesting. You could sort of think of it almost as the Fed, right? The Fed has certain priorities, right? They want to keep inflation down. They want to keep employment at a certain level. And sometimes there are competing objectives where like you're constantly doing that. I mean, that's what we're facing, a similar kind of thing, right? Where we have our goals. Obviously, our goal is to ensure that the endowment continues to be available. And we also have to take care of our expenses. Now, of course, if the town was going to say, and I'm not suggesting that the town is going to say this, by the way, but let's just say this, that don't worry, guys. We want you to prioritize, okay, first and foremost, ensuring the longevity of the endowment. Recognizing that if you do that, and there's been a bad year, you can't, you still have your expenses, right? And if we're saying to you, don't worry, you need to keep the inflation rate down, and don't worry about the employment rate, you could say to us, yeah, don't worry about it. Your priority is ensure the continuity, and we've got your back. We've got your back. Any year where you would have to dip into that more because of X, Y, and Z, we've got your back. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I do think that we are working together and will continue to work together to do and to constantly look at what's going on in the world, what are the investment opportunities and whatever, to keep things at that sweet spot. I mean, it's no guarantee, right? It's not risk-free. But
there is this competing thing, and I just hope that you rest assured that the goal here is to maximize, the endowment, while also being able to cover our operating expenses at a mutually agreed upon, right, level of expense to the town. And that's, I think, I just want to comment from, I think I've been a board member now for 4 years or something. It's been about 4. I apologize, by the way, I'm on the call. But we have come a long way in working together with the town to understand how do we address, the community needs and the financial requirements. There was a time when maybe that wasn't happening, but I think we all, have, come together as collaborators over the past 4 years to work in this and strike that right mix.
If I could ask a question about the endowment, and it's just a quick question, we don't have to go deep into it, but there was just a letter to the editor or something in the Bureau today about divestment from, I think it was Israel, Connecticut's investment in Israel. We've heard of divestment from Russia and stuff. Do you guys have, what's your, do you know what the investment strategy is and whether it has, anything that's controversial?
I don't believe so. It's, we're like 55% stocks, 45 bonds, and it's with, what used to be the Andrew Group, and now they're going through some changes, and the town had monies there, but since then the town, as you know, has moved all their, pension funds to GYL investments, and I'll be honest, the library is also, we met with Jim and talked about, the endowment, and his recommendations are with GYL, so we did have them come to the library to do a presentation, and we may reach out to a couple other investment advisors and then make a decision. And the good thing about GYL and working with Jim is that we would have one platform and follow the town's model. So it is something that in the near term we will be making a decision on. It's a very conservative investment policy.
Are there any Blackstones alive? Are you in contact with them?
Yes. Yeah. We had, at our 125th celebration, we had a couple of family members come out and take pictures. We had somebody, the partner of one of our board members dressed up as Timothy Blackstone. There's a picture that was published of Timothy Blackstone, the impersonator with a Blackstone family.
That's great.
Yeah.
There's the Blackstone House on First Avenue in Peach Grove, where I live.
Oh, really?
My mailman is a Blackstone. My landscape is Blackstone. Around.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Representative, great. Any questions from the public again? I really appreciate your time, and all of this information is going to take me forever to digest it all. I'm probably going to call you tomorrow or email you with more questions and ideas. And if before you leave, if you could just check in with Representative Kratos so we can get the spelling of your names correct for the minutes.
Sure.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
So, thank you for your custodianship of the school.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time tonight and for your questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great questions.
And we see you at Wednesdays.
This Wednesday?
Yes.
Yes. Next Wednesday. Actually, before we adjourn, I should say the next RTM meeting is February 14th at 8 p.m. and the next Education Committee meeting is the first Monday of March. We hope to have a presentation by the two state representatives and our state senator. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And second, thank you. But yes, thank you for the reminder.